I want to focus on few things more, right? I will be focusing more on risk. We did in two questions in EST coaching call, so I will be starting from there. I will discuss the documents, the purpose of 4 documents that are used in the risk process. And once we have discussed the process, the purpose of those risk process, then we will also go to the next question, which will be covering more of the, you can say, risk management strategies. So that will help you and guide you in both of the context. So yeah, let me know. Walaikum Assalam. Aslam sir, message in the group, the coaching call has started. Thank you, Krishna. Good to have you. Soon your name will be there. Hasnan, message in the mastermind aspirant batch groups that the coaching call has started. And we are discussing risk questions. Okay, so the first question that I will show you, first I want you to take your time, answer that questions. Good afternoon, Bhaskar. Answer your question and then we'll take it from there. Good. Hi, Sandeep. Good to have you, man. Okay. Please solve the question, guys. Okay, A, B, A, B, A, B. Okay. Guys, do like the video so that it can start coming into the algorithm of YouTube. Okay, now let's discuss the 4 documents in the risk topic. 4 documents in the risk topic and risk. The first one is risk management plan. Risk management plan is a plan that talks about how the risk process will happen. How the risk process will happen. So it gives you policies, procedures, tools and technique, and it gives you the process, step 1, step 2, step 3, how you do that. If you want to do the audit, which is actually checking the effectiveness of the process, the answer would be risk management plan. If you want to check the risk attitude of organization, like is organization risk seeker, risk averse, risk neutral, what is the threshold of the risk organization, what is the tolerance, you will look in the risk management plan. Key point here, it does not have, it also have templates of the risk register, it does not have any risk in it. Any risk in it, no. It's the guidance, it is guiding you how to do the process. The next is risk register. Risk register is the major document, major thing in your project to handle the risk. It has list of all the identified risk that are identified and prioritized through qualitative and quantitative risk management. It has their responses of the risk, both primary, secondary and residual risk. All the responses are there. Triggers are there in the risk register. So when you are, risk itself is probability or impact. Anything to be a risk, it should have identified before happening, and you should have a plan to handle it. Anything to be a risk, these two characteristics must be followed. You should have identified it before happening, and it must have a plan to handle it. If it does not have a plan, or you identified after happening, it's not a risk, it's a issue. All issues go to issue log. Risk is future, happen in the future. Issue is it has happened now, one thing, and second, you have no plan for it. Anything which happened now and you have no plan for it, it goes into issue log. Now and you have no plan for it. Okay, that's an important thing, important distinction. Anything for which you have a plan and that happen, like the trigger happen, and then a risk owner implement the risk response, you will update the risk register. If you have a risk trigger occur, you implement a risk response, you update a risk register. But if you don't have a plan, you will update a issue log. It's a critical concept which I just shared now. Okay. The last document among this fourth document is risk report. Risk report is a summary of risk that has happened in the past, and as well as what is going to happen before the next risk review meeting. Before the next risk review meeting. This is critical. So every organization, weekly, bi-weekly or monthly, they have their risk review meeting. As a result, they generate a report that shows risk exposure, like overall risk the organization can face, summary of the risk. Those information goes into risk report. With that information, we'll solve the question. Before even we solve the questions, now are we clear about the four documents that I have just discussed, or is there someone who is still not clear about it? Okay. No, in execution it is called an issue. No, in execution if you identify something and it has not happened, you make a plan for it, it's still a risk. Okay. Okay, so let's go with the question. And I need everyone justification now. Please put your justification, which answer is right or wrong under the above context. So you're the project manager, you have identified all risk, you made plan. When risk occurred, they were according to the plan. Good. Another risk which was not identified for. Now we discussed the definition of issue. Anything which we don't have plan, Arun, anything which we don't have plan, it goes into issue log. So B is the right answer here. Okay, next question, the same context. G. You are the project manager. You have identified all risks. You made a plan when risk occurred. They were according to agreed plan. And it was not. You made a plan for which document you will update. So you identified a plan, you made a plan for it. It will be risk register. I'm very happy that you guys are now able to get into that. Okay. Next question. C, 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 A. Okay. You are the project manager. You have identified all risk. You made a plan when risk occurred, but suddenly another risk is identified. It was not identified before. You want to audit the process. Audit. This question is targeting about audit, whether we followed process or not. Okay, audit. Okay, audit is covered in the risk management plan. C is the right answer here. Okay, so like we did 4 questions, each having their context of each topic, why they can be and why, what are the reasons for them. You are the project manager. You have identified risk. You made a plan. When risk occurred, they were according, but suddenly the risk is. It was not. You made a plan in the risk. Now risk review meeting. You want to show it. It's a risk report. So we did 4 questions, 1 for issue log, 1. So that the context now you understand why, when to use which document. Okay. So Let's talk about these tools and technique for a while, one by one. Okay. Number one, influence diagram. All these are quantitative risk analysis tool. Quantitative risk. Influence diagram basically check which item has influence. You use a lot in critical path method and things to identify it. Okay. So if we look into that, A, B, C, D, E, F, G is kind of a critical path. Which activity has more influence? Put in the chat box. Which activity has more influence? Put in the chat box. So it is clear this activity F has more influence. So influence diagram easily can show which activity is more critical to you. Okay. Then we use expected monetary value in quantitative risk analysis. Risk is probability into impact. If the risk is positive, let's say there's a $100 risk and the probability is 50%. It's a positive risk, so you will get $100 multiply by 0.5. Okay, so you can calculate the answer, it will become $50. But if the question says a negative risk, so at the end the answer will become negative to that. Okay, so this is expected monetary value. Similarly, decision tree can be used as an extension of that. Then we have sensitivity analysis. Sensitivity analysis is also known as tornado analysis. The purpose of sensitivity analysis is to see if one event happen, how the different risk will occur. Both positive sensitivity, negative sensitivity. Okay. So this is risk A, risk B, risk C. Okay. Now let me ask you, let's say rain has happened. Which risk will be more affected? Which has more threat to that? Looking at this diagram, which risk has more threat to that? A, B, C, D. G. Which is more risky? What do you say? You can easily look into that. The C is going to be above everyone else. No, Aslam Saab. That's why I put it the C1 downside, and it's more risky. You need to see which is being impacted more. So C is this is negative. Okay, this is negative. It is more impacting, so C would be the right answer. This is sensitivity analysis, also known as tornado analysis. How an event impact those things, sensitivity analysis. Then we use probability distribution, also known as Monte Carlo analysis. It gives the probability of achieving success. Okay, this is known as Monte Carlo analysis. Like, what is the probability of achieving success? So now which one the answer for this one? Tornado analysis. You see, now when you understand these tools and technique, it become comparatively easier for you to answer such question. So these tools and technique, the purpose I am giving is that, and I will try more in next coaching calls also, in the live coaching calls, to give the context, what the question answers are, why this linkage is there. So these four tools and technique are important. Okay, we discuss all of them. Okay, so let's answer this thing, then I will go and explain all this strategy, both positive as well negative. Okay, so let's discuss these strategies now, and so that once for all we can understand these risk management strategies. Okay, risk management response strategies. Risk is probability into impact. Let's put negative strategies here, positive strategies here. Now, the first negative strategy is avoiding the risk. It's a very important thing to understand here. Avoid word is used in PMP two times, and both time as strategy. One as a conflict management strategy, second as a risk management strategy. When we talk from the context of risk, avoid is the most effective strategy. In this, either you try to make the impact zero or you try to make the probability zero. If you can make probability or impact zero, any of those things, then the risk is dead. Okay, we are killing the risk. I would even say we are killing the risk. For example, let's say the rain, there is a probability that there will be rain along the way and that rain can cause any damage. You decided not to go at all. That's avoiding. Or the entire way you change your path where the rain is not at all. Avoiding the risk. The positive best strategy is exploit. Okay, this is a very interesting strategy. Exploit in English language is considered as a bad word, but in PMP it's the most positive word. That's why I always say wear PMI hat. Wear PMI hat when we are solving question. Exploit is the most positive word in PMP language, in which you increase probability and you increase impact. Both of those things you try to increase so that you can get the value out of it. Probability as well as impact, both are increased. Exploiting the risk. If in the question it is said that, let's say the statement is one of the stakeholder is exploiting his relationship, or the project team member or the resource wants to exploit, it's a good thing. It's not a bad thing. He is implementing the positive risk response strategy. So exploit is one of the best thing that we do in PMP. Okay. Acha, if you cannot avoid in the negative, we try to either mitigate or transfer. Let's discuss mitigate. Mitigate means decreasing the probability or impact. For example, we wear safety belts when going on a car. That's mitigation strategy. We drive slow in the rain. That's a mitigation strategy. Mitigate, decrease the probability or impact. Reverse of mitigate for positive is enhancing the risk. If you cannot increase probability and impact, we increase one of them. That is enhancing that. Enhancement. Okay. So then the next strategy is transferring of the risk. Transferring of the risk is basically buying insurance, paying them the premium. Acha, very important, when you are getting insurance, we need to make sure they are responsible to take that risk. They are responsible to handle that risk. Mere buying of insurance does not make sure they are responsible. This is a critical concept here. I need to make sure that those people are responsible for that. That's a critical point here. When you are transferring, that just people saying SLA means no. We need to see what is covered in the SLA. Okay. And if the risk is positive, I want to share it. Sharing the risk. Okay. In risk management plan, it is defined what is the threshold or limit. If a risk exposure or overall risk increases that, we can even escalate the risk. We give it to the senior management. Hey, go ahead, you tackle that risk. I cannot tackle that risk. Escalating the risk to above people. Escalating the risk. Very important. But we don't want to escalate many risks, we want to tackle it. So that's why if something goes above the threshold, then we escalate it. All these strategies, I call them as proactive risk response. You identify the risk, you immediately take the action. You don't wait for the trigger to happen. It's important. You don't wait for the trigger to happen. You don't set immediate risk on risk. No. You identify the risk, you immediately do something. The next is reactive risk response strategy. Reactive, which is used for both positive, it is called acceptance of the risk. You have active acceptance and you have passive acceptance. And both are reactive risk response strategy. In passive acceptance, first I'll explain that, then I'll go to that. You identify the risk, you don't make any plan. You know that risk exists, but you just don't care. Okay? Passive acceptance, no plans. So if the risk occur, it will be treated as issue, which we say workaround. So we will do workaround. Now this is important, active acceptance. 90% of your risk, you do active acceptance. You identify the risk, you set a trigger. Okay, if this risk occur, a risk owner will implement risk response. And risk responses are called as contingency plan. Like you put a money aside to handle them, plan A, or fallback plan. Plan B. You have a plan A, contingency plan, fallback plan. So this is basically risk response strategy. Please remember, when a risk occur, a risk owner implement a risk response strategy. If the risk is good, okay, we update the risk register, we evaluate how much the risk is left. The risk left is called as residual risk. Residual risk, and normally it is accepted, so we just evaluate it. Or another risk can occur, that is called as secondary risk. If you identify a secondary risk, you evaluate in the same way as you identify the primary risk. It goes into the risk register. I am sharing here the most, I would say, the one of the most important content with you guys. So I will highly appreciate if you can like the videos and put some comments even after once you have watched it. Okay, one of the most premium content I am sharing today. Okay, let's go to the question answers. Okay, so now with this, please answer the question. Okay, you have identified the risk. Now this is a very important thing. You identified a risk that one of the seller is going bankrupt. This can be a great opportunity. You talk to your friend and they agreed. Now you are working together, right? No, Aisha, this is not uh, exploiting. You talk to your friend. Okay. Can we call fallback plan? Yes, we can call fallback plan as a backup plan. I did not, Ikra Sohail, I did not exploited it, sister. Aisha, it is not, sister, it's not exploited. Here we are discussing with the friend. Okay. I did not accept it, did not mitigate it, it's not negative risk. I did not exploited it. Exploited would have been you do it yourself. Here you are sharing the risk. So B is the right answer here. You are sharing your risk with somebody else. Important question. Okay, let's try to do one more. Okay. Yes, Ikra exploiting. Okay, Aisha. Okay, okay. Transfer. trans D Sar D Sana D Arvati. You see, now you are getting the question answers. I am happy that this is helping. You are a project manager. It can cause you decided to handle the insurance. Yes, that is transfer of the risk. Okay, next question. Okay, Irfan saying A, Ikra saying mitigate, Sandeep saying, I guess you are saying the previous question, Hari Babu saying A, B. Still, guys, we are a little bit confused here. Okay, many people are mixing the answers. Okay, let's see. You identify, you change the risk. Never happen, yaar. How you can say mitigate, guys? How you can say mitigate? Mitigation, Ikra, mitigation. Who else said that? Bhaskar. Mitigation is decreasing the intensity, my friends. The question says it never happens. You are killing the risk. How is this mitigation? Mitigation is you decrease the intensity, yaar. Risk is probability into impact. You make probability 0 or impact 0. This is avoiding of the risk. Guys, we discuss this, yaar. Okay, so you are the project manager, you have identified risk, you change the plan, it will have less severity. So now this is mitigation, my friends. This is mitigation. G. Let's see your answers. A. You have identified risk. This can help you to increase the profit. You put your best resource on which risk strategy you have used here. So I am exploiting the risk. This is A option. Okay. Okay. B. You identify the risk. Yeah. This I guess we shared it before. Share risk. Yes. You are right. Yes, it was repetitive. You are right, guys. You would when it risk owner handled it, updated, which risk management strategy you have used. Now this is a very important thing. You identified a risk. When risk occurred, risk owner handled it. Okay, no. Understand this thing. I explained you here when we were discussing. I explained you here how the acceptance work. You identify the risk, put a trigger for that, risk owner act on it, implement the plan according to that. It's risk acceptance. How are you putting mitigate yaar? Ikra, Faryal, Said, how you are putting mitigate? This is acceptance of risk. This is active acceptance. Where it is said it, you mitigated it here. You decrease the intensity. Where it is said here. Faryal, I don't know why you put it there. Ikra, I explained it here. Why did you put mitigate? It does not make any sense. We discussed it, na? It is active acceptance, my friend. Ji. You have identified a risk and made a plan. When another, which is even bigger, which document you will document the secondary, which has occurred now. Okay, guys, identified a risk, made a plan. When risk response was implemented, another risk which is even bigger than the first risk. Okay, we don't know, we don't have a plan here. I don't know how you are putting here. Do you have a plan for it? You have identified a risk and made a plan. That is the first information here. Okay, Asma Ilyas, I also need your justification. That's why I say here, guys, put your justification. When you put justification, I am able to understand the context that you are saying. Okay, you have identified a risk, made a plan. When risk response was implemented, another risk occurred. The question did not say it was identified. No, it occurred. This is never, this is never. How, Deepak Verma, you are putting yaar? Risk occurred yaar, occurred. We don't have a plan for it yaar. That is why we discussed in the start that when to do risk, what happened when a risk is occurred, when a risk is identified. They are two individual things, two different things, right? So they have a different meaning, guys. I hope that makes sense to all of you. So these were the questions we were planning to solve today.